Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable in the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places, dealing with addictions of all varieties. RICO 12 is also a resource for the loved ones of addicts. I'm Justin B., a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and multidisciplinary addict living in miraculous recovery. I'm joined here by a fabulous panel of people. We've got David G., Nikki M., and Ashley S., and we're excited to be here today and read and swim through the big book with you. All right, let's start off with Ashley today. Ashley, please introduce yourself and I think we'll just go with the introduction today. Just introduce yourself.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Justin. I'm so glad to be here. I'm Ashley S., a recovered sex addict and codependent from North Carolina with a sobriety date of November 2nd, 2021. Grateful member of All Addicts Anonymous and Al-Anon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ashley. David, your turn to introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. I'm David G. from Oklahoma. I'm an alcoholic and addict of many sorts. Grateful for recovery date and Alcoholics Anonymous of August 8th, 1994. And I'm a grateful member of AAA Fellowship as well with the emotional recovery date of October 1st, 2019. Thank you, Justin.
Awesome. Nikki, you're up. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Nikki M., a grateful member of many Anonymouses. I live in Toronto, Canada. And, about a sobriety date. Well, I entered the rooms. What day did I do it? It was actually February 14th. It was almost 12 years ago. So whatever that year is, I can't remember. But long story short, I rarely have one day sober because, I'm in the battle with my government mentally daily. So when I take a thought, boom, I'm right back to day one. So I have a daily reprieve and I've been in these rooms and I don't plan on going anywhere. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikki. And thanks everybody for being here. Today, we're going to jump a little bit back into the big book. Well, this is what we're going to do every time. We're going to jump into the big book. We're going to dive into there, snorkeling through. Today, we're going to continue and read the foreword to the first edition, which starts on page Roman numeral 13. That's XIII. And we'll go through that entire foreword to the first edition. So I'm going to go ahead and get started reading. Now, before I get reading, grab your pen, your marker, your highlighter, your paper, take notes, get ready to come in there, grab your big book because it's not there to look pretty. It's there to get marked up. All right, here we go. Foreword to the first edition. This is the foreword as it appeared in the first printing of the first edition in 1939. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. For them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary. We think this account of our experiences will help everyone to better understand the alcoholic. Many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person, and besides, we are sure that our way of living has its advantages for all. It is important that we remain anonymous because we are too few at present to handle the overwhelming number of personal appeals which may result from this publication. Being mostly business and professional folk, we could not well carry on our occupations in such an event. We would like it understood that our alcoholic work is an avocation. When writing or speaking publicly about alcoholism, we urge each of our fellowship to omit his personal name, designating himself instead as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Very earnestly, we seek the press also to observe this request, for otherwise we shall be greatly handicapped. We are not an organization in the conventional sense of the word. There are no fees or dues whatsoever. The only requirement for membership is an honest desire to stop drinking. We are not allied with any particular faith, sect, or denomination, nor do we oppose anyone. We simply wish to be helpful to those who are afflicted. We shall be interested to hear from those who are getting results from this book, particularly from those who have commenced work with other alcoholics. We should like to be helpful to such cases. Inquiry by scientific, medical, and religious societies will be welcomed. Alcoholics Anonymous. All right, so there is the foreword to the first edition. We're going to get in and do a little bit of personal insight from each of our panelists here. And have them share a few points that from this reading that means something to them, and maybe dive into that a little bit. So let's start today with Ashley. Based on that reading, what are some of the takeaways not the takeaways, but the insights you have and the things that you feel need to be shared?
Thank you so much, Justin. There's lots of takeaways on this page. I've got a lot underlined here. So one thing that I'll call out is where it says this book, these pages, this publication. If there's any question about where the program of recovery is, it's the book. So who are you going to call at 3:00 in the morning when everyone's asleep? You've got the book. Always go to the source. Another thing that we've talked about in a previous episode is sobriety versus recovery. And it says here again in the very first sentence that there's 100 men and women who have recovered. So we're not just looking for sobriety here, as we talked about with the table of contents. We're looking for recovery. And it only seems that we are hopeless. It doesn't mean that we are. I wanted to point that out. And there's another thing at the bottom of the page that jumps out to me where it says, we shall be interested to hear from those who are getting results from this book. But what I've got underlined is particularly from those who have commenced work with other alcoholics, because unless you've worked step 12, you have not worked all the steps or the program of recovery. So if you're getting results, it's because you've been working with others. And that's why it's important for me to do so likewise. Other things here that I think are important for me is that many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person. Even this week, in working with a new sponsee, that will come back to me is that, I forget sometimes that these are sick people that I'm working with, and not in a judgmental, but a compassionate way. And I was just like them at one point too. So I should always be making sure, is it my wish just to be helpful to those people? Or am I trying to govern and control? But it really should be with a servant's attitude. So that's what I take away from the foreword to the first edition.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. And there were several things in there that I noted, and we'll get to those here in a minute. All right, David, what were some of your things that you'd like to highlight there?
Like Ashley said, anytime that we go through the book with somebody that is new, we always look at key paragraphs, and this would definitely be one on this page for sure, because there's so much there. It talks about being recovered, and that's always a promise. When I see that word in the book, it's a promise. I'm not recovering, I've recovered. It doesn't say that I recovered from alcohol, sex, drugs, lust, food, any of that stuff. It's talking about a seemingly hopeless state of mind. And as the book will begin to reveal that this is self, this is what drives it. These are things that need to be addressed. It talks about mind and body, not just mind, but to show other alcoholics, not to tell them, because I think sometimes in the fellowship we get to where we want to tell people how to recover. The book is very specific about showing precisely how we recover. That's really the main purpose of the book. And as Ashley said, it's these pages, it's this book, it's this way of living, the work, the application. When you get to the back page there, it talks about the only requirement for memberships and honest desire to stop drinking. We look through our traditions that today it's written the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. The word honest has been taken out of that. So I want to pay close attention to that, because either my desire is honest to stop what I'm doing or it's not. And this isn't just a one and done deal for me. This is a daily. I need to look at this question daily. And at the very bottom of that page, it says scientific, medical, and religious societies will be welcome. I always look at scientific as mind, medical as being, religious as spirit. So that's going to set forward the tone for the rest of the book. Body, mind, spirit, body, mind, spirit. So very good information here to be taken away. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, David. Good stuff. All right, Nikki, what are some of the places that you'd like to shine more light on from this reading?
Well, I love to use this chapter this forward to the first edition, this page, I should say, to dispel a lot of things. Because I'm like, let me sponsor you. And then I hear women stick with women. And I said, but you're a man and I want to sponsor you, or my sponsor is a man. It says we. It doesn't say men of Alcoholics Anonymous solely or women. It says we. And I circle that and put that where the sun don't shine, because it says men and women. So I can sponsor you and you can sponsor me. Where does it say, what page does it say women stick with women and men stick with men? And I use that. And then I love what David said, seemingly. Like I got to Google these words. This is fake news. It's it's fake news. And I have recovered. That's a promise. And then I love here where it says, when speaking or writing in public. Well, that says what I'm supposed to introduce myself as, a member of this anonymous. That's what it says to do. I don't need to say anything else. I'll just share a little experience, strength, and hope. We had a member at our Sex and Love Anonymous meeting, and she only wanted to introduce herself as Al-Anon. And we let her. People from Intergroup came in and said, she has to say she's a sex and love addict. And I said, what page is that on? Actually, she should be introducing herself. My line out says here, page 49. She's an intelligent agent spearhead of God's ever advancing creation is how she should walk into this room. We all should. I love that when you have to introduce yourself as an alcoholic. Well, where does it say that? And then I love this. We're not an organization that's conventional. I love that in the sense of the word. What is this? This is where I came to Alcoholics Anonymous because I didn't fit into my church, my doctors, my family, anybody. I could not find, you guys are unconventional. You took me. No fees, no pays. I'm actually having you want to call it a schism with some people because you don't mix the spiritual with the material. No fees. I don't care what it is. That's in the traditions. No fees or dues. Spiritual work is free. And then I love this line, and I'll end it here. It says, we're not allied with any particular faith. Nikki, you talk so much about God, whatever God you want. I mean, page 28 in our book, and I love this. I always reference the other pages. It says right here, those having religious affiliations will find nothing disturbing to their beliefs or ceremonies. What? You're a Buddhist, you're a Rasta, you're a Jew, you're a Muslim. We don't care. Get in here. There's no friction. And all are welcome. So the book keeps repeating itself non-stop. And of course, I circle keywords, helpful, membership, very sick person, our way of living. This is a way of living, people. And if you can't get that, no one can help you. It says it right there right in the beginning. Love this. Thanks, Justin.
And I say this over and over, but I get so much more out of this as seeing it from at least plus my perspective, 4 different perspectives as we go through this. I love this. And I'm going to ask each of you to dive just a little bit deeper on a couple of takeaways I got from what you each shared. I'm going to start with Ashley. Ashley, you started out and really hit on this precisely how we have recovered, and the previous sentence, from the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Tell me a little bit about how, I hear people in several meetings that I go to who say, I don't like the term recovered. I don't like that. Even if they've been, quote unquote, in program and working their program in sober, abstinent, whatever, for many years, they still don't like that. Tell me a little bit about that process and what your thoughts are on that, Ashley.
Thank you, Justin. I love this question. So when I first started reading the big book with my sponsor, I just had sobriety. At that point, I had 87 days, and that was very white knuckled. There was nothing spiritual about the way that I got that. With this book and going through this process, I had what I would call emotional sobriety or emotional recovery. No longer am I plagued by the fears and the resentments and the people pleasing that I used to be. That's what I wanted recovery from everything that was stealing my peace of mind, my joy, my happiness. I didn't know that there was another way of living, until I went through this book. So for me, that's what a recovered state looks like. It doesn't mean that I'm cured, doesn't mean that I don't sometimes people please or whatever it is, but I do have a daily reprieve. I have had a spiritual awakening, that transformation of character and attitude towards God and everyone else. So thank you for that question.
Thanks, Ashley. Oh, love it. David, one thing that you said that really jumped out at me, and maybe it was a flashback to my elementary school days when I was a kid, but you talked about the difference between showing and telling. So the show and tell aspect jumped into my head, when working with others. Why is Well, one of the things I've heard people say is to a newcomer, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. Shut up and listen. Tell me a little bit about this showing versus telling about how we recover and what that means to the newcomer and to you.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. Thank you. When I came to Alcoholics Anonymous in 94, they told me just don't take the first drink, you'll never get drunk. My mind automatically twisted that around and said, well, hell, you're nothing like me to begin with. If you can take only one drink and get drunk, you're nothing like me. But see, I wasn't hearing. I had cotton in my ears, so to speak, as well. Nobody sat me down and showed me why I could not take a drink of alcohol safely ever again in my life. No one showed me through the doctor's opinion the physical allergy coupled with the mental obsession. So show versus tell. You can tell me all day long. I may retain that. I may not. And I may tell you that I did just out of fear because I don't want you looking down on me. This is all of this craziness that manifests itself through self. But when you set me down and show me through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous exactly and precisely what the problem is, what the solution is, and how to take the action steps to stay in the solution, I don't only get sober, I begin to recover. So thank you, Justin.
Thank you, David. All right. Yeah, that's so powerful. So powerful. Actions and examples, experience, strength, and hope is so much more powerful than preaching, Good. Thank you. All right. Nikki, one of the things that you kind of went around and talked about is something that I have had a huge awakening in my own recovery. When I first came into the rooms in 2013, it was in a very insulated and isolated. Everybody in that room had the same addiction, same struggle as me. Everybody in that room was of the same faith as me. And it was good, but it was still very isolated and insulated. And as I've gone to several other fellowships and expanded my horizons, I've seen just how open things could be. Nikki, you talked about and focused on being open to all unconventional organization. We're not allied with any sect or religion or denomination. Tell us a little bit about why that's important and what that means to you in your own recovery, Nikki.
Well, the book says I'm beyond human aid. And I'm from California, and a good part too, like a beautiful part. And I moved to Toronto, and nothing works for me. I've gone into every church. I've let the Mormons in my house, and I've let everybody in my home, and it didn't work. Why? It's just a temporary solution to a permanent state of mind that I need help with a soul change. So I go back to the book with these things. Like, go back to what the book says. It says on page 160, the vision for us is that anyone and everyone interested in a spiritual way of life is welcome. Starts on page 159. It became customary to set apart one night a week for a meeting to be attended by anyone and everyone interested in a spiritual way of life. That means that when David the alcoholic comes in, he's to bring his wife with me. I'm Nikki, his wife. I'm to go in with him. That's what I get there. I mean, that's what we see in the movies. Lois was sitting beside Bill. And then I love where it says in the long form of the third tradition, long form, it says our membership, remember we read about membership here, ought to include all. And of course, my book circled all who suffers from alcoholism. And I don't have to pick up a drink to suffer from the disease of alcoholism. I have lost 2 stepfathers because of the disease of alcoholism. So I don't mess around here. Everyone's welcome because I sponsor what we're talking about here. That sobriety, that dry drunk, that spiritual malady on page 52. Oh, well, they don't let me in that room. They don't let me in this room. That's not what the book says. This is the one room, and I would cry, but I'm so excited, where I am accepted and loved by you no matter what. All of you. You're like, Nikki, it's fine. Get in here. A desire to stop drinking. Everyone, that I know has a desire to stop everything and just live for God if they're in this program and know this way of life. It's not easy to do. I suffer the disease of alcoholism. And so come here. Everyone's welcome. I like to say it's a place for weirdos, but then everyone gets mad. Nick, you're calling me a weirdo. Well, we're sick. So pick a word. I don't care. I'm just grateful that you guys let me be here. I couldn't find anywhere else to be, Justin.
And I love that all-inclusive all-inclusivity of these rooms of recovery. Good. So since this isn't a traditional 12-step meeting, we can do some crosstalk here. If anybody wants to crosstalk about anything else that's been shared, you got a couple minutes here to do that. Anybody have any thoughts they'd like to jump in on?
I wanted to say one thing on David, because I love this. I'm learning. I put show and then line out, not tell. And a lot of the time, because I can see we all love sponsorship. I have to show my sponsee not only how to get well and arm them with the fact, I have to show them how to sponsor while I'm doing this process. Because my new tagline is, of course, I do care if you get better, but I don't care if you get better, madam. But if you know how to sponsor, you're going to get better. So I need to not only show them what's wrong with them, but I need to show my sponsee how to sponsor, how to carry this message undiluted, the way they learned. I learn, repeat, repeat, repeat. I love that word show. Thanks, David.
Awesome. Any other crosstalk in here?
I'll have one final comment kind of on that note. I can't believe that I forgot to call this out, but we would like it understood that our alcoholic work is an advocation. And that is where I probably fall short a lot of the time, is that I make it my vocation. This is not something I do in my spare time. I make recovery my life instead of my way of life. So that's just something for me to pay attention to, especially when it comes to sponsorship.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. All right. David, did you have any crosstalk before we go into wrap-ups?
Well, I think at the very bottom of the page there, XIII, it says, very earnestly we ask the press also to observe this request, for otherwise we shall be greatly handicapped. How many people do you know that are alcoholics and addicts that very earnestly ask somebody to do anything? I'm usually telling you what the hell to do, and you either do it my way or there's consequences. So we already see that the mindset of the book is that we're going to ask, we're going to, this transformation of character is taking place. I'm not telling people what to do anymore. I'm showing them what to do. I'm not telling them what they must do. I'm asking them to do this. Why are you going to handicap the work if you don't? Now, you can do whatever you want. God is bigger than any of that. But I just know for me and the people that I sponsor, from day one, we're going to change the way we talk to people. We're going to change the way that we talk to our wives. And we're going to change the way that we look at things. When I go to a convention and they say, okay, you're speaking first and the all and non-speakers next, I tell them no deal. I've ran over people my whole life. Either she goes first or I go home. You can find somebody else. And that's just kind of the way it is. That's the way I was taught. On the voicemail of the old days of the old home phone, and my sponsor made me change that. He made her, he turned it around to where she went first and then me. Whenever someone was driving, we were driving down the lane, I always cut in and bully. I'm a truck driver, so I do what I want, right? No, you stay in your lane and let them pass. So there were things that I had to learn that was humiliating for me. And this kind of falls into that. So we're not going to tell. We're going to show. We're not going to tell. So anyway, just something short to throw in there. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's an awesome, awesome thought of, well, I'll get to my takeaway. Let's go to the wrap up here, and then I'll put my wrap up in at the end. Ashley, what is your takeaway? What is something that you will take out of this reading and this conversation today that you will apply into your own life?
Thank you, Justin. Love this first edition. I think my main takeaway is to continue to show. I've had a lot of experience with that actually this week. Somebody or one of my sponsees got a parking ticket and they said, I'm just hysterical. And I'm like, we've been over this page. But what does page 87 say to do when you're agitated or doubtful? You pause, you ask for the right thought or action. But that's just a practice of me showing them, not always just telling them this is what you need to do or don't do that. So that's my takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. David, what's something that you'll take away and put into your life today from our conversation today?
Well, it's on the back page, Justin. Of course, we shall be interested to hear from those who are getting results from this book. I'm hearing this today. My sister's here, and then you yourself, of course. I could look at this as sponsees and my sponsor, Farley, and all these guys, but I'm looking around this roundtable, and I'm getting results from those, or I'm interested to hear from those who are getting results from the book, and that's you guys. And so it's very, it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. There's many people that you could have picked to have done this in this roundtable, but you chose us. And so I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thanks, David. And I wish I could say that I chose you. I think it was God that chose you. That's kind of how it went. I was like, hey, God put this project in my lap and said, this is something that needs to happen. And I said, okay, who needs to be in there? And you guys all fell into it. And it's a beautiful thing. Nikki, tell us your takeaway from this that you're going to apply into your life here.
Well, my takeaway really is that I can't leave this room because it just continues. I'm seeing miracles. Like this is becoming a working part of my mind, but I know nothing. That's my takeaway. I think every time we get on here. And what's cool, I think my biggest takeaway is exactly what David said. It's like, I mean, we've only done a few roundtables thus far, but I'm getting more excited about what the future holds, about what I'm going to learn, how I'm going to expand my words. I mean, it's just my common sense is thus going to become uncommon sense, as the book says. The more and more I do this, I'm just like, I need more. That's all. My takeaway is I need more and I want more. And the book is real. Believe it.
Thank you. And my takeaway comes basically from the phone message, the voicemail message, and the truck driving incident. I have spent way too much of my time steamrolling, bulldozing, being the bull in the china shop, getting my way, and stepping back and trying to learn and apply the principles of humility, the principles of recovery as we learn them here. It's not all about me. Fit me to be of service. God, fit me to be of service, not to be of bulldozing. That's not, service isn't bulldozing unless I need to move a pile of dirt for somebody else. Anyways, that is my takeaway. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Nikki, Ashley, and David. That was such a good conversation. To our listening audience, come back next week. We'll be diving into the foreword to the second edition, talking about part of that. To learn more about RICO 12 and what we're doing and how you can support these projects, go to RICO12.com to learn about what Ashley, David, and Nikki are doing. I've got links in the show notes of the podcast. You can check them out anytime there. And come join with us in the fellowship of the Spirit. Come trudge this adventurous and amazing road of happy destiny with us. Work it. You are worth it.